What happens when a senator's 48-year-old wife parks in a handicap spot without a permit, then physically assaults a 52-year-old wheelchair user who politely asks her to move, then walks into Judge Frank Caprio's courtroom insisting that senators' families don't have to follow parking laws and that handicap spaces are only for people who truly need them? This entitled woman is moments away from learning that privilege does not extend to disabled parking. One phone call to her senator husband will collapse a political career. One moment of mocking disability will trigger resignations live within 60 seconds, but what makes this case devastating isn't just the illegal parking or the assault. It's what happened when Judge Frank Caprio placed a live call to Senator Michael Chen during an active committee hearing, and within 60 seconds of hearing his wife ridicule a disabled veteran and claim special senatorial privilege, Senator Chen resigned on the Senate floor, admitting he could no longer represent the public after his wife attacked someone for defending disability rights. It's a Friday afternoon in Providence Municipal Court. Catherine Chen, age 48, wife of Rhode Island Senator Michael Chen, stands before the court facing charges stemming from an incident at a Providence shopping center parking lot 3 days earlier. The victim is Robert Thompson, 52 years old, a disabled veteran who relies on a wheelchair after a car accident 5 years ago. That afternoon, Robert arrived at the shopping center to find Catherine's Mercedes parked in a handicap space. No disabled placard. No permit visible. When Robert calmly informed her she was parked illegally, Catherine became hostile. She then shoved Robert's wheelchair, causing him to fall and suffer a wrist injury. When Providence police officer Sarah Martinez arrived and attempted to issue a citation, Catherine reacted with indignation. "Officer, I'm married to Senator Michael Chen. We travel constantly for state business. We shouldn't be expected to circle parking lots. These handicap spaces are usually empty anyway." Officer Martinez cited her for illegal parking and arrested her for assault, though Catherine's repeated references to her husband immediately complicated matters politically. And now, Catherine Chen walks into Judge Frank Caprio's courtroom. Everything about her appearance radiates entitlement: designer suit, pearl necklace, flawless hair, luxury handbag. She walks with the confidence of someone married to power. Someone who has attended fundraisers, galas, and private meetings and believes rules apply to other people. Behind her sits Senator Michael Chen himself, dressed formally, visibly uneasy but attempting to project influence through his presence alone. Judge Caprio notices everything. The senator's attendance is meant as pressure. A reminder of political reach. The bailiff calls the case, the State of Rhode Island versus Catherine Elizabeth Chen. Charges: assault and battery. Illegal use of handicap parking. Judge Caprio reviews the file carefully. "Mrs. Chen, how do you plead?" Catherine rises smoothly. "Not guilty, Your Honor. This entire situation has been grossly exaggerated. I made a brief parking decision that an overly sensitive individual escalated unnecessarily." Her tone is calm, controlled, the voice of someone accustomed to reframing reality. Judge Caprio's expression tightens. "Mrs. Chen, you are charged with illegally using a handicap space and physically assaulting a disabled person. Explain how that's an exaggeration." Catherine exhales softly, as if educating someone unfamiliar with how things work. "Your Honor, I was at Providence Place for no more than 15 minutes, collecting materials for my husband's campaign office. Every standard space was full. 3 handicap spots were completely empty. I made a practical choice. I wasn't preventing anyone who truly needed it. Did you have a permit?" Judge Caprio asks. "No, Your Honor, but I wasn't staying long. Handicap permits are intended for individuals with serious, permanent disabilities. I was just running in briefly. Common sense should apply." "Common sense," Judge Caprio responds, "is that you violated the law." With respect, Catherine replies, "Enforcement should be reasonable. My husband is a United States Senator. We serve constituents statewide. We shouldn't waste time searching for parking while accessible spaces sit unused. If you're not subscribed, hit that button, because what happens next proves that no political title overrides disability rights. Mr. Thompson, please come forward." Robert wheels to the front. 52 years old. Paralyzed from the waist down. His movements are practiced. His right wrist is braced. "Mr. Thompson, tell the court what happened." Robert speaks calmly, with dignity earned through struggle. "Your Honor, I'm 52. 5 years ago, a car accident left me paralyzed. I use a wheelchair full-time. I have a valid handicap permit. I require accessible parking with space to transfer safely. 3 days ago, I arrived at Providence Place. All 3 handicap spots were occupied. I waited. As I waited, I saw this woman," he gestures toward Catherine, "enter a Mercedes parked in one of those spaces. There was no permit displayed. I rolled over and politely said, 'Excuse me, ma'am. This is a handicap space. I don't see a permit.' She replied, I was only here a few minutes. I wasn't hurting anyone. I explained that those spaces are protected by law and that I'd been waiting. She said, I'm leaving now, so you can take it. I told her I just wanted her to understand for the future. That's when she got angry. She said, do you know who my husband is? He's Senator Michael Chen. We have important work to do. We don't have time to follow every minor parking rule. I was stunned. I told her clearly that senators' families don't receive special parking privileges. She laughed and said, these handicap spots are always empty. Half the people with permits aren't even really disabled. They just want closer parking. I told her that was insulting and completely false. She leaned down close to my wheelchair and said, you look perfectly fine to me. Can you even prove you need that chair? Then she shoved my wheelchair hard. I didn't see it coming down. I was thrown forward onto the pavement. My wrist took the impact and fractured. I'm 52 years old. I'm paralyzed. And she shoved me out of my wheelchair because I asked her to respect disability parking laws. Judge Caprio's expression tightens, anger barely restrained. Mr. Thompson, I am deeply sorry this happened to you. Catherine cuts in, her tone still polished but defensive. Your Honor, Mr. Thompson is exaggerating. I barely touched his chair. If he fell, that's because he wasn't properly secured. Wheelchair users need to take responsibility for their own safety. The courtroom explodes in shocked murmurs. Senator Chen drops his head into his hands. Judge Caprio's voice turns razor cold. Mrs. Chen, did you just blame a paralyzed man for falling after you pushed his wheelchair? I'm being realistic, Your Honor, she replies. I gave it a small nudge, more of a tap. He's in a wheelchair all day. He should know how to stay in it. If he fell that easily, maybe he needs better equipment or restraints. Mrs. Chen, Judge Caprio says, you pushed a disabled veteran out of his wheelchair and are now blaming him for the fall. Her composure finally fractures. Your Honor, this is exactly the issue. Anything involving disabled people becomes overdramatized. I used a parking space for 15 minutes. He turned it into a confrontation. Those handicap spaces were empty. That's wasted parking. Many people with permits aren't even that disabled. They get them for convenience and act heroic over parking privileges. Senator Chen suddenly stands at Catherine, stop talking. Please. Michael, the judge needs context, she insists. You've said yourself handicap parking has gotten excessive. Every store has multiple spaces sitting unused. I never said that, Senator Chen snaps. Stop. But Catherine presses on, turning toward Robert. Mr. Thompson, how long have you been in that wheelchair? 5 years. That's long enough to adapt. You shouldn't need special parking anymore. You could park farther away and wheel yourself. Handicap spaces should be for people newly disabled, still adjusting. Judge Caprio signals sharply, play the parking lot footage. The screen lights up a Providence Place Mall. 3 handicap spaces near the entrance. Catherine's Mercedes is parked in 1.no permit displayed. Robert's modified van arrives, circles, waits. Catherine exits the store, enters her car. Robert wheels over calmly, speaking politely. Catherine looks irritated, responds dismissively. Robert gestures toward her windshield, checking for a permit, says something else. Catherine's posture shifts, aggressive. She bends close to Robert, speaking sharply. Robert responds, clearly defending himself. Suddenly, Catherine shoves the wheelchair forcefully with both hands. Robert is thrown forward, crashing onto the pavement, bracing himself with his wrist. Catherine gets into her car and drives away, leaving him on the ground. Bystanders rush to help. The video ends. The courtroom is frozen in silence, disgust palpable. Judge Caprio turns slowly toward Catherine. Mrs. Chen, that footage shows you illegally parked in a handicap space and then assaulting a disabled veteran after he politely informed you of the law. Catherine remains unrepentant. Your Honor, I've explained the circumstances. Handicap parking regulations have gone too far. My husband is a senator. He sits on committees overseeing ADA compliance. He knows these rules are often excessive. We shouldn't be punished for making a practical decision. Judge Caprio shifts his gaze to Senator Chen. Senator Chen, does your wife speak on your behalf regarding disability policy? The senator rises, visibly shaken. Absolutely not, Your Honor. I fully support ADA enforcement. I voted to expand disability protections. My wife's opinions do not reflect my positions. Catherine interrupts, Michael, you've complained at home about handicap parking. You've said there are too many spaces and the regulations are overly strict. I'm just repeating what you say privately. The color drains from his face. Catherine, that's not true. Those were discussions about urban design, not disabled people. You said half the people with permits don't really need them. I never said that. Judge Caprio makes a decision that will permanently end Senator Michael Chen's political career. Clerk, place an immediate call to Senator Chen's office. If he's in committee session, interrupt it. Catherine's defiance finally collapses into fear. Your Honor, my husband is right here. Why do you need to call his office? Mrs. Chen, Judge Caprio replies evenly, your husband is present as a private citizen. I need to speak to him as a United States Senator regarding the policies you claim he supports. Senator Chen rises, panic visible. Your Honor, I'm not in hearings today. Right here. We'll discuss it now. Senator, take your seat. This is an official inquiry into your public positions on disability rights, based on your wife's statements that these views came directly from you. Within moments, a voice comes through the courtroom speakerphone. Formal, controlled, this is Amanda Rodriguez, Chief of Staff for Senator Michael Chen. Ms. Rodriguez continues, the Senator is currently in committee session. This call is highly irregular. Ms. Rodriguez, Judge Caprio says firmly, this is Judge Frank Caprio, Providence Municipal Court. I require immediate contact with the Senator regarding a criminal proceeding involving his wife. A pause. Understood, Your Honor. Please hold. Muted movement. Urgent whispers. Chair shifting. Then Senator Chen's voice comes through, but confused, alarmed. The background noise suggests he's still on the Senate floor. This is Senator Michael Chen. Your Honor, what's happening? My wife? Senator Chen, Judge Caprio says, your wife Catherine is charged with assault and battery of a disabled veteran and illegal use of a handicap parking space. In my courtroom, she has made extensive statements regarding disability rights. Judge Caprio continues deliberately. She stated handicap parking spaces are often empty and therefore wasted. She claimed many permit holders aren't truly disabled and obtain permits for convenience. She asserted that senators' families should not be required to follow parking regulations. A beat, she pushed a paralyzed wheelchair user out of his chair, then blamed him for falling, stating wheelchair users should be responsible for their own safety. Another pause. Of most concerning, she stated, and I quote, that you taught her these views. That you have said at home handicap parking has become excessive, that there are too many spaces, and that half of permit holders don't actually need them. The silence that follows is total. The background noise of the Senate chamber fades. Other senators are clearly listening. When Senator Chen speaks again, his voice trembles, Your Honor. I never said those things. I may have discussed parking regulations in abstract terms, but never like that. Catherine, what have you done? Catherine tries to interject. Michael, I was just explaining. Catherine, he cuts in, you assaulted a disabled veteran. You shoved him out of his wheelchair. And you told a judge I don't believe in disability rights. The Senate chamber erupts in hushed murmurs. Judge Caprio speaks calmly. Senator Chen, are you currently on the Senate floor? Yes, Your Honor. I was in a Veterans Affairs Committee meeting. They pulled me out to take this call. Senator, Judge Caprio says, your wife assaulted a disabled veteran in a protected parking space, then claimed you taught her that disabled people don't truly need accessibility accommodations. Audible reactions ripple through the chamber. Senator Chen's voice cracks, Your Honor, I've served on the Veterans Affairs Committee for 8 years. I've fought for disabled veterans. I've sponsored ADA expansion legislation. And now, because of this, I can't continue. His breath catches, I can't represent my constituents after this. Catherine gasps, Michael, no Catherine, he says quietly, you illegally parked in a handicap space, assaulted a paralyzed veteran, blamed him for falling, claimed disabled people fake their permits, and told the court I agree with you. Judge Caprio hears movement on the other end, urgent voices, then Senator Chen's tone shifts, formal, composed, addressing others, Madam President, I request the floor for a personal statement. Background noise swells, then his voice, now clearly addressing the full Senate, still audible through the courtroom speaker, Madam President, colleagues, I have just learned that my wife assaulted a disabled veteran and claimed I taught her to disrespect disability rights. I cannot continue to serve the people of Rhode Island under these circumstances. A pause, effective immediately, I resign from the United States Senate. Exactly 60 seconds after Judge Caprio placed the call, Senator Michael Chen ended his political career. Catherine collapses into tears. Every trace of defiance is gone, Michael. I never meant for you to resign. I was just trying to get out of trouble. Judge Caprio looks directly at her. Mrs. Chen, your husband just resigned from the United States Senate because of your actions and statements. Here is your sentence. He reads clearly of assault and battery against a person with a disability. Illegal use of handicapped parking. 2 years in county jail. 5 years probation. 500 hours of community service with disability rights organizations. Permanent revocation of driving privileges in Rhode Island. Full restitution to Mr. Thompson. Catherine serves her sentence. At the disability rights organization, she works beside wheelchair users. She learns about inaccessible buildings, daily humiliation, legal battles, and dignity. After her release, she meets Robert Thompson again. Mr. Thompson, she says, I illegally used a handicap space. I pushed you out of your wheelchair. I blamed you for falling. I claimed disabled people fake permits. I said my senator husband taught me these beliefs. My arrogance destroyed his career. I'm sorry. Robert takes her hand. Mrs. Chen, you believed political power gave you special access. You believed disability was exaggerated. Now you've lost your license and your husband's career. Maybe you finally understand that handicap spaces aren't about convenience. They're about access. If this story moved you, subscribe for more moments where Judge Frank Caprio proves no political office places anyone above disability rights. Remember the words that destroyed everything: handicap spaces are for people who really need them. That's the legacy of Judge Frank Caprio. That's the dignity of Robert Thompson. That's the integrity of former Senator Michael Cheney. Justice served, career ended, disability rights defended, access protected.